The Desiccated Eastern Woodland, present year 3019. One of the most riling injustices that I've ever witnessed in my time on Astilion is not found in overreaching tariffs imposed by the viler of the two apes on the continent, or minotaurs without a sense of their inferior place in the natural order, but is instead found in the complete and utter violation of the Eastern Woodland by those whom I hesitate to dignify with the name, the Zaigon Empire. Not content to simply putrefy the lands bordering the autumn plains with their eyesore wall, as I detailed in the previous section, they have taken it upon themselves to ravage the whole of the stolen land they now claim as their own. They have seen fit to raze countless beautiful marvels of elven architecture and stonework to the ground by destroying cities all around the woodland, and even worse, they have decided in their infinite wisdom to replace them with vile gray hollow bricks. Gone are the flowing subtlety and grandiosity of the great marble towers and finely hewn homes of the original elven settlements in Astilion. Miles of intricate handcrafted masonry demolished, on which the heinous human constructs a temple to his own lawlessness and stupidity. Hundreds of years of history, written in the structures and homes we built by the sweat of our brow, are erased in only a few short years. Instead, the human being would have his own style, his own architecture, his own structure, his own way of life, and his own order. Replacing our proud landmarks are mere bricks. Every building, for every purpose, was large and rectangular, a solid drab gray, and hollowed out for him to cower in. Though certainly unintentional, his choices are telling. He emphasizes harsh lines because any nuance is completely lost on him. He emphasizes dark, brooding colors because they remind him of himself. He sees the dark, barren void inside his skull. He emphasizes uniformity because any imagination or uniqueness is foreign to him. He emphasizes utilitarian design, for he will not live long enough to appreciate any form of artistry. He emphasizes a soulless, oppressive, menacing design because he is soulless, oppressive, and a menace. But more than his insistence upon destroying every cultural landmark erected by us in our long lives is his destruction of the very landscape itself. The human creature has set itself upon eviscerating everything within its grasp. It has destroyed thousands of miles of forest. It has perverted the natural way. It slaughters the animals without care. Sometimes it is out of annoyance, vex, or frustration. Others do it out of a sick and perverse sense of joy. It derives a sense of superiority from its despoiling. The gullies, glens, and vales that it tears apart as it works the land for its settlements, it pays no heed to the plants and animals that have already inhabited the area, as it paid no heed to us who live there already. The rivers, streams, and creeks it pollutes with waste and filth. It overfishes and warps the lakes, ponds, and pools. It taints the ground with its very presence because it knows no other way, nor would it want to know any other way. It has no appreciation for the natural world. Instead, it has only greed and arrogance. The greed of believing it owns the world, as well as the arrogance of believing it could belong to anyone. It hopes to hold dominion over all it surveys, even if that means killing, destroying, despoiling, ravaging, marauding, and tainting anything and everything that exists. It has nothing of value to create, and so it renders all it controls worthless to cope. My time in the Zaigon Empire-controlled Eastern Woodland was permeated by malice. They control the whole southern coast of the continent, which they leverage to their advantage by imposing extremely harsh levies, taxes, duties, and fees on all imports and exports. Their capital, Volgana, as they've taken to hedonistically calling it, is one of the gaudiest imaginable. In stark contrast to almost everywhere else I went, I found some level of emotion in the works of mankind here. I reviled it. In keeping with its intellectual inability, what I saw was crass beyond measure. Large statues of their profane heathen goddess, Volgan, litter the streets. Temples dedicated to it are adorned with otherwise precious metals and gemstones. Where their misplaced devotions take on a more secular flavor, they are no less revolting in their display. Statues of various war heroes and great humans similarly find themselves anywhere and everywhere they could fit. Most droll in an unpleasant way was the 50-foot tall statue of Manus Marn, the so-called Elves' Bane. He is responsible for a great number of deaths, including those of children, a fact that, in reasonable society, he is infamous for. Emblematic of its society's outlook on us and our long lives. The human creature stigmatizes its superiors, which is why it glorifies heroes in whose stories it can find some fantasy of defying the order of the world. At least, that's what I'm left to believe. And this is only the beast's creation. The beasts themselves were all too eager to prove me incorrect. Their kind eyes looked at me with a suspicion whose source I have yet to see. Our kind in this place live as second-class citizens. It is no wonder so few remain here. Everywhere, the beast's malice was overpowering. I was constantly concerned for my safety, because I knew that if I was attacked, I would be left only praying for a quick death because no guard would come to my aid. I was maligned, spoken to improperly, and belittled with churlish name-calling. Some vendors refused to serve me, others attempted to gouge me. Through all of this, I was never directly threatened with violence, a fact whose incredulity only struck me as I was leaving. The animal revels in violence against us and nature, but it cannot bring itself to confront even a lone object of its hatred. The only reprieve I found in this waking nightmare was the farthest reaches of the forest. In the scant few areas where the animal's filth has not permeated or even by and large been introduced. Places it has yet to corrupt. It was here that my thoughts cleared. I could find peace that had nearly completely evaded me. I could feel a connection to the earth and nature, however damaged they may have been elsewhere. I could feel the forest's pain. It cried out at what had been done to it. I was overcome. I wept. I wept for the land. I wept for my people. The land that had been and was still being corrupted and destroyed. I wept for my people who had been slaughtered. I wept for each life taken before its prime by a snake who had no right to take what it did. But most of all, I wept at my weakness. I could not stop it. I could not stop what had happened. I could not stop what was happening. I cannot stop what will happen. I departed the Eastern Woodlands shortly thereafter and returned to my home in Koman. I have not returned since.